Welcome to the Athlete Insights Podcast, hosted by Yash Pad Day, a podcast focused on letting athletes tell their journeys in their sport. This podcast is presented by Boxed Water. Boxed water is better.
Welcome into another episode of the Athlete Insights Podcast. Today I've got my guest, Dr. Christopher Parker. He's the president and CEO of the NJCAA. Dr. Parker, appreciate you. I know you said off camera you're on the road right now, so I appreciate you taking the time and making time to be on here and spend time with me.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So with my podcast, I like to, as I mentioned before, off camera, I like to go through the entire journey of all my guests in their career. So I always ask my guests, my first question is always, how did you get involved in sport? What age did you first start playing sport? Just want to know kind of your background with that.
Yeah, so baseball was my life, I guess you'd say. That's what I love more than anything was baseball from the time I could pick up a ball.
Yeah.
Through and through, and I just relate everything to baseball. All of life, I relate to the game of baseball, and still do, and still love the game today. So,
gotcha. And any memories that you have, core memories that you can share about youth sport, high school sport? Kind of any memories, any standout moments? I know you said baseball was kind of the love there, but yeah, any memories in that regard?
Yeah, so baseball's taken me a lot of places. Taught me a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
I grew up 30 minutes from my high school in very rural Virginia. It wasn't with the in crowd whatsoever. Actually had to play Little League in a different county because of how far away I was. But my dad taught me how to pick a short hop of baseball is from the early ons to everything in between. And the life lesson I probably learned the most was getting cut. I never played JV baseball.
Oh, wow.
They cut me from the team only for the same coaches to bring me to the varsity team, and became an all-region player, etc. But that was probably the life lesson that really taught me adversity at a young age.
And that's the great thing with sport is it teaches you camaraderie. It teaches you so many different lessons in general with adversity, camaraderie, all these different pieces falling into place there. And so did you play, if I may ask, did you play any club? I know you went to Virginia Tech for undergrad and kind of progressed from there. Did you play any baseball during your time in college, whether it be club or anything in that regard?
Yeah, I played 1 year at Hampton-Sydney College.
Okay.
For baseball and basketball, and then I played baseball at Virginia Tech. And I actually was invited to try out for the basketball team while I was there at Virginia Tech as well.
Oh, okay, nice. What was your experience, if I may piggyback off of that? What was your experience like at Virginia Tech? And going through
for me, it was, a big school, but the opportunity to engage and really learn from others. I wasn't the everyday player guy. I wasn't the guy or anything like that. I got a chance to coach there, and be a part of it. Made an experience for the whole college outside of the classroom. For me, is probably the biggest thing.
Gotcha. And I know, as I do my research on my guests all the time, I know looking through your LinkedIn and kind of scouring through there that the baseball connection fits. You're a scout for the Braves. Can you talk about that experience and kind of what we've been talking about life lessons a little bit, but kind of what lessons, what takeaways you took away, if I may?
Yeah, it was actually pretty crazy. I coached Division I baseball for a little while. Then I started coaching junior college baseball, and I got my first contract from the Atlanta Braves as a scout, and I was like, "Is this real?" It's something you dream about, being with a professional organization as a child, especially with a baseball lover, and end up signing a contract with the Braves, and later on signed a contract with my Boston Red Sox. I'm a big Red Sox fan, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was kind of eye opening to still I get gut checks when I look at myself in the mirror and I think these are things I dreamed about. I actually get to do them in life, and that's a real opportunity.
And that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of people, like you talked about, is the dream is there, and you actually get to live it like you have and like you are. it's a beautiful thing to experience in that regard. And so can you talk a little bit about, kind of leads me into where you are now and with the NJCAA. Can you talk a little bit about your role with the NJCAA as the president and the CEO?
Yeah, so this has started my 8th year. This summer, I was kicked off the 8th year in this role. Obviously, went through COVID for a couple years and lots of transition. We've grown our staff. We moved from Colorado Springs to Charlotte, but it's about the people. I get to serve 70,000 student athletes. I get to serve 5,000 coaches. I get to serve over 500 institutions on a daily basis, hourly basis, by the minute. So it's really about keeping the main thing, and that's the success of our student athletes, and that goes from in the classroom to on the field. I mean, a lot of people get lost in translation. They hear junior college athletics, like, what does that mean? Well, when I tell them that Roger Clemens, Andy Pettit, Albert Pujols, Bryce Harper, Roger Staubach, Bud Webb, Larry Johnson, all of them are NJCAA alums. They're like, are you serious? I'm absolutely. They all played junior college sports at one time.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like, you think about the next Alabama running back, the next great, like you mentioned, Tom Brady, or, I'm a big football guy, so I have a lot of football references, but, some of them might be those gems in the junior colleges ranks.
Right now, I mean, you got Cam Newton, you've got Tyreek Hill, you've got the quarterback in Buffalo. You got a lot of people, and they just the average person has no idea they played junior college sports at one point.
Yeah, and it's great to see how junior college athletics has helped these players evolve into the people that they are today and the players that they are today. And so can you talk about under some of the key initiatives and key aspects that have been implemented under your leadership in those 8 years?
Yeah, we got our first ESPN contract. So, our national football game, national men's and women's basketball games on ESPN. We've got a series of ESPN Plus football games of the week during the year. Our baseball championships, softball championships on ESPNU. A lot of those things. It's really around the storytelling. We looked at our business operations. We went from 8 employees to 30 employees from the time I took over to now, full-time employees here in the office. But just getting the word out there and getting people to understand the viability and the ROI on education at this level.
Yeah, no, and ROI, that's a great term that I also use in my finance class currently here at Midway. But it's been great to kind of see how collegiate athletics has grown and changed, and just looking at the NJCAA and kind of researching looking through kind of how you've been able to change that. You talk about the ESPN contract, broadcasting has grown so much. It's great to kind of see how the NJCAA is evolving under your leadership there, and as well. And so kind of leads me to, you talked about the service to the student athletes, and the way that the student shaping the student athletes. And right now, with the course of NIL going and taking in place, with NIL kind of blowing up the way it has, can you talk about how the NJCAA has adapted to that, and kind of what challenges and opportunities you see at the junior college level for NIL to thrive?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have NIL deals. It's not as prominent as NCAA Division I deals, but they exist. And I kind of joke because the last year #1 football player, as soon as he showed up in a Lamborghini on Ole Miss's campus, and video went wild everywhere, and it was all NIL money. But it's unique. What I expected was, the quarterback who chose to stay at home and was the high school standout, and the local car dealership really supports him and keeps that. But what we're seeing in some parts of the country is some significant dollars that are coming in from different aspects. So it's a different world we're living in.
Oh yeah, and it's changed the shape of college athletics and how we view college athletics as a whole, in that regard. And what's and the other piece here too, Dr. Parker, is mental health and athlete well-being. Mental health is being talked about significantly nowadays, and in recent years. And so it's been a major focus of the NCAA, and it has and collegiate athletics. And so how does the NJCAA, how have you taken on that challenge, and have you taken on that role of helping your junior collegiate athletes who are dealing with mental health, or helping with those causes?
Absolutely. I mean, it's real, and it's become more and more prevalent the last few years, especially coming out of COVID and seeing that. We
Yeah.
have a health and safety council
Mhm.
that reports to our board, and they've really taken this on. We've had partners in the national space that offer their services to all of our student athletes. So we're
Mhm.
doing everything we can to make sure the resources are there. Obviously, we can't force individuals to use it, but
Yeah.
we've set our student athletes and our coaches and administrators up for success in the situation that it's needed, and we encourage it to be used.
Gotcha. And it's great to kind of see, and just going through and looking at the NJCAA and kind of where how it's evolved under your leadership. It's just great to see kind of the different aspects that you've been able to bring in, and the initiatives that you've been able to push. And so before we close and end on the podcast, I always, the sole reason behind starting, not the sole, but like one of the main reasons behind starting the podcast was I wanted to be able to inspire, help young people. I coached football out in Colorado when I was out there, and I'm a bit, you mentioned the service to people and helping others, and I'm kind of in that realm as well. And so I wanted to help, started off as a way to help my kids that I was coaching. And so, I always ask my guests is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received? So I'll push that to you. What's the best piece of advice in your career that you've received?
I've received a lot of advice, good, bad, and different. But I think the one that still resonates no matter what is build your network.
Yeah.
Your network has to be built. It's not going to be built overnight.
Yeah.
It's going to take years. It's going to take decades. I joke with people, interns coming here, and I show them basically like a baseball card book of business cards. I have every business card given to me for the last 20 years. The odds of those people still in that job today are probably not likely.
Yeah.
But if a name pops up, I can pull out, oh, well, so and so was with this company. But
Yeah.
building that network over time is, especially in the sports world, that's
Yep.
where your next job, your next opportunity to be recruited if you're trying to go to college or
Yeah.
get an opportunity. That's where it's going to happen.
For sure. For sure. And building your network is key. Build under, it's all about, I've heard the saying, it's all about who you know, but also who knows you, and that's built through the network, and the connections that you're able to build. And so now I asked you what the best advice that you've received in your career was. Now I want to turn it to you to offer some advice, to youth individuals, and individuals who are looking to pursue athletics, or even individuals who are looking to pursue careers in sport. Obviously, you talked about being able to live the dream with the Atlanta Braves, and it's admirable. And it's great to see what you're doing with the NJCAA, where you're taking it, how it's evolving. I can't wait to see what you guys achieve in the next couple of years, and here on out. But I want you to imagine a scenario where you're talking to young individuals, young people, in a room. What's one piece of advice that you would then give to them, for those that want to, again, pursue athletics at a higher level, or just pursue jobs and become sport managers? What's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Right. It's twofold. There's two different sides to that. One is you got to have fun doing it. Once
Yeah.
sports aren't fun to you,
Yeah.
you're going to lose the energy and the enjoyment around it because working in a national office, I don't get to see the athletes every day,
Yeah.
but it's still fun and enjoyable knowing that I'm making an impact.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, God gave us two ears and one mouth. The more you listen, the less you speak, and you soak in that advice, you soak in different things, the
Yeah.
better off you're going to be. So just use your ears to really listen and understand and take in things. It doesn't mean you agree with stuff, but
Yeah.
process it. You hear it, you process it, and you save it for a rainy day. You save it for a time that it may make more sense. But
Mhm.
just use your ears much more than you use your mouth, and that probably applies to anything in life, but it certainly applies to this business.
Yeah. And it's like, think before you speak, and like, great way to put it that way, right? 2 ears and one mouth, right? Listening is a important skill, key skill to have, not just in sport, but in life in general. Being able to listen and process things is great. It's a pivotal piece of who you are, who you can become as an individual. And so, but it's all the time we have for this episode of the Athlete Insights podcast. Dr. Parker, again, want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with me. And we'll have your social medias on the video. I'll have your social media in the YouTube description. So make sure you guys follow Dr. Parker, the NJCAA. I'll put the NJCAA's social media as well, so you can follow all the cool things and initiatives and the student athletes at the JUCO level with the NJCAA as well. You can follow my podcast on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, just Athlete Insights on YouTube. You can follow that anywhere you get a podcast. You can find this one. But again, Dr. Parker, appreciate you coming on and taking the time. And we'll see you next time.